unique and magical art form with you. The lesson plan for today is 2 words: have fun. Breaking it down a little bit more, the big picture is what we had sent to you as far as what you want to tackle to paint today. This will be a good structure for you to start to learn this very simple art form. But like any other art form, it requires a discipline. And once you learn these simple disciplines, you can do anything from small to 50-foot screened in porches, which is one of the avenues that I've had the pleasure of doing. So the breakdown is to go over the history of screen painting, and then we'll get right into the actual painting, and we'll go from there. I'm hoping to be able to answer your questions. I'm sure you probably perhaps you have a lot of questions at this point, and I'm hoping to be able to answer them as we're going along. If I've missed anything as far as the steps to help clarify for you, just let me know. You can't throw anything at me, but you can certainly voice up a little bit. So we'll go that route. So first off, does everybody hear me okay?
Can I ask a question? Are we going to have you on a big screen and all of us are going to be on the small so we can see you better?
I'm on the big screen. Is that right, Elena?
You are spotlighted, so you might want to go into view.
Yeah. And I'm
then do
assuming you can
view.
see everything back here.
Yeah, I know, but you can put it, he can be full screen. The rest of us can be on the side. It would be better to see him. Know what I mean?
If you enlarge your screen, you can do that.
I can do that.
No, I'm sorry, the lady who's speaking.
Oh, Elena, can you do full screen?
It has to be done on hers.
It has to be done from yours.
I
If
just,
you set it up, you have to do it.
yeah, I just did it from my end.
It won't do it. If I
So that puts everybody's
all it does is
face
give him
over
the
it.
same size.
I mean, I just made it full screen.
Right.
All right, I can
Made
see
it full screen and he's still a certain size.
Right, because you have to do it from your computer.
Right.
Who does?
On your computer, on the top right, if you're on a computer, it says view and you have options: speaker view, gallery view, and full screen.
Okay, I'm gonna go speak.
So if you go into full screen, it should make it like, well, not to be redundant, but full screen.
View. Okay, that's better.
Does that work?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
cool.
All right.
That works. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the history first. First off, has any of you ever seen a painted screen before? Raise your hand. You have. Okay. And where did you see the painted screen? Was it somewhere local?
It was on your door.
Hmm.
It was on my door at my home.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I moved from Baltimore, so over on Eastern Avenue, and there are
Okay.
some beautiful painted screens.
You said you grew up in East Baltimore?
No, well, I lived in Baltimore 35 years.
Okay.
And would wander down that way on occasion.
Right.
Yep.
Maybe going past there to go to Little Italy,
Yes.
Little Sabatino's.
Yep, you got it.
Hey, there we go.
Really nice.
Yeah. So it's not unusual for me that most people have never seen or heard of a painted screen before. And the history is full of a cast of characters. And it goes back over 107 years ago. There was a gentleman named William Octavek, and he was a Czechoslovakian immigrant. And mind you, I could talk about this for hours, so I'm really concentrating everything. But Mr. William Octavek, when he was a young man, he had decided to take his young family and move to the Americas. He moved to, ended up in Baltimore. And when he was a little boy in Czechoslovakia, his parents had, not uncommon in a lot of the social mores in different countries, even to today, the parents decide for them what they're going to do. And they would say, you are to be butcher. You know, kids 7, 8 years old. Okay, mama, I'll be a butcher. So he was trained to be as a butcher at a very young age, and having this knowledge as a butcher, when he moved to this country, he ended up in East Baltimore, and he decided that he would open up a grocery store. He opened up this grocery store in 1913. It was at the corner of Ashland Avenue and Collington Street, across the street from St. Wenceslas Church. Beautiful, beautiful church. And he opened this store in the beginning of the summer. Never really having any knowledge of screens. And no, William Octavek was a very smart young man, very smart man, period. And he knew that for marketing purposes, it wouldn't be a very good idea for him to put his fresh fruits or fresh produce that were in the crates outside to market them to anybody that was walking by or riding by in with their horse or their Model T or their bicycle. So he decided to keep them inside where they would stay cooler and last longer, of course. And instead, he was looking at this painted screen door, and he was like, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to paint a scene of fresh fruits and vegetables on the front door screen entrance of my business. Okay. So he did this, not knowing a lot of things about what happens when you do something like that. Literally the next day after he had painted this screen, his neighbor, who was right on the other side of his business on the caddy corner, was coming up, and she saw this really pretty painting of fruits and vegetables on the front door screen of his business. She'd never seen anything like that before. She walked inside and to check out the business, see what was happening. But when she turned around, she looked back out and she couldn't see anything. That meaning she couldn't see what was on the screen. She was like, oh, what's up with that? So she went back outside, looked at it. Sure enough, the painting was there. She went back inside and it disappeared. Well, a light bulb went on in her head and she goes, oh my gosh, I can't see in, but when I'm inside, I can look out with no obstruction. So I want to share with you a little magic. Imagine this is the inside of the door, okay? She's looking outside, not seeing anything. And you ready for some magic? This is the outside. This is the outside looking in. So the screen painting became more than just a fad. It was discovered, and I grew up in a row house community in Baltimore. You have a lot of friends, but you do not have a lot of privacy. So it was discovered that if you paint a scene of whatever on your door screen or your window screens, people won't be able to see in. But you can see outside anybody that's going by, and it revolutionized the whole concept of privacy in East Baltimore. So again, long story short, by the end of the summer, what had become a fad became a an artist industry of individuals that had no clue what they were doing when they were painting on a screen, but they could make a little side change and make a little mark on, hey, I'm a screen painter. So these individuals, they would actually go around, knock on the door, and they would ultimately paint the screen windows or screen doors while they were right on the windows or the doors. It was a hoot. Moving up about 4 decades, we're into the 50s, going into the 60s. By that time, there were several different screen painters who were making they weren't making it as a living, believe me. The first screen went for a whopping 10 cents. So even when you got into the 50s and the 60s, they still weren't bringing in a lot of money, because these were self-taught artists like myself who had the opportunity to share this art form and to create a little privacy and a little pop that was on what would normally be not necessarily a mundane view of the exterior of these brownstones that they would call everywhere, but it would add a little bit of flavor to the exterior of the homes. And it became iconic that these over 300,000 of these hand-painted screens were something of an outdoor museum for people to come by and just check out, no charge. And mind you, the people that were living in these communities, they were Czechoslovakian, they were Polish, they were a lot of Eastern Bloc, European Bloc foundations of immigrants that moved to this particular area. And the whole concept of row houses bloomed more in Baltimore than any other surrounding city, like Philadelphia or New York or any other origins that were close to Baltimore, because believe it or not, the bankers thought it was a wonderful idea to be able to accommodate the working class people with affordable housing, which is, wow. So you could buy a house, a row house back then for like $800. And if you wanted a larger one, you could buy it for under $1,000. So these people could afford these homes, and it changed a lot of lives. Screen painting was one of those things that added this wonderful ability to work hard, rest on your marble steps when you get off of work or on a weekend, and be able to show off your painted screens like everybody else had, because everybody had one. And the different screen painting artists would have their block, and they never infringed on, another screen painting artist never infringed on that particular artist's block. They all had enough blocks to paint, so to speak. So if you saw a red roof bungalow with the swans coming down from the pond, you would see this interpretation as interpreted by the different artists. So all of them were all different. So it was just fantastic to be able to see. And there was a wonderful invention that changed all of this. And you plug it in. Any idea what it could be? It keeps you cool in the summer around the world, wherever it's hot.
AC.
You got it. So the AC, the big heavy box AC air that weighed like a half a ton, to put it in your window. I mean, if it's 110 out, what would you rather want to do? You would rather want to stay cool in the summer months in the city. So that's what people did. They took their painted screens out and they replaced them with box air conditioners. So screen painting was up here, box air conditioners, And this is what happened over a period of time. Now you can go into these neighborhoods and you can still see some of them. Some of the Gen X and a lot of the younger individuals, they're not going for the red roof bungalows, but they're certainly going with a lot of really unique ideas that are being interpreted by this many of screen painters that are members of the Baltimore Painted Screen Society. There's not many of us left. We're all getting too old, and you know what happens, we're all dying off. So another one of the things that I love to be able to do is to share this art form, that perhaps you would be inspired to share it with someone else. You might want to take it up. You're going to be sharing this with your friends and family, I would hope. So I'm going to leave the history of screen painting at that, and we can get right into the painting process. Does that sound like a good plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions about the history at this point?
John, I had heard at one point another reason to, maybe it was an afterthought, by painting screens, they wouldn't rust.
I'm sorry?
They would not rust because the screens do rust.
That's a really good point. The oil-based paint they used, that's all was available back then. Of course, you're working with the water-based. Oil-based paints were the only thing that were accessible. And most of the screens were metal. I've painted on brass, I painted on copper, and I painted on regular metal mesh screens. But the oil coagulated really well with the screen material back then. So indeed it did. It did help them last. I had screens that were close to 100 years old. You could still see the vibrant colors, but you could poke your finger right through there after it ages after a while. But yeah, a lot of people did find out that they will last a lot longer, but it's unless they're under the proper conditions, like at the American Visionary Arts Museum. If you ever have an opportunity, if you haven't been there yet, one of the wings has a 2-scale full front facade of 2 row houses from Baltimore with the original screen painter, William Octavek's paintings on the doors and windows. It's really a hoot. So question, do you have your screen in front of you? Is it on a table? It is.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And that's where you want to leave it. Are you feeling confident that I don't know if you've broken open the bottles yet? Have you broken open the bottles yet? All right, well, the first thing you're going to do is to grab a couple of things. One is the white bottle. It's actually a paint/primer, okay? One of the things that's important to do first, and I have already taken that precaution, is to wipe your screen down. Whatever you're painting on, you always want to make sure that you're going to wipe your screen down with a clean, damp cloth. You don't have to do it really hard. You can either let it air dry, or you take a dry towel and go over it. And you'll look at your towel and you'll look at it and say, well, it's still dirty, but you really don't have to do that right now, because I have taken the precaution of cleaning them. When you are painting, you're going to need to have a space in between. If you're painting vertically, or if you're painting on a table like you're going to be doing, you are going to need to have this with the screen side up. Capiche? Instead of having it on this side, you need to put it screen side up. You need to be looking at the screen side up, because you need a gap. And the reason being, if you did this painted on the screen and it was right on a flat surface, the paint would go right through and it would stick to it and all blah, blah, blah. So that's why you want to paint on this side. Okay? So take your bottle, you can do a little shake, rattle, and roll, not a long time. And once you get that taken care of, I've got large bottles because when I do a school residency and whatnot, so I'm fully prepared. But what I have is the same quality of paint that you have. So I have a tendency of making sure that I use the best of everything. The screen material, for example, it's called super screen because it's made out of vinyl. It's tear resistant. If a bird flew into your screen and created a hole, you go like that with your finger and it would go back to its original state because it's tear resistant. This stuff is amazing. I've been painting on this for a few years now, ever since it came out, unless otherwise requested. So it's really good stuff to paint on. So do you have a paper plate or something to squeeze a little paint on?
Yep.
Okay. So amounts, you don't need to squeeze a lot out. I'm going to refer to coin sizes for the painting process. Okay. So after you've shaken your paint, let's take and put a 50-cent amount of paint in your palette. And when you're doing it, put it off to the side. Don't put it in the middle. Put it off to the side because you can ultimately get multiple colors on there without it mixing in with everything. Okay, so pour a 50% of a 50-cent piece. And if it's not coming out of your top very easily, you might want to just unscrew the top and pour a little bit in there. Like I'm having problem, even though I just got through filling this up. Let me try a toothpick. There we go. All right, so I have about a 50-cent piece of amount of paint. I want you to take you have two brushes. Actually, you have more than two brushes, but you have two sponge brush sizes. I want you to take the 2-inch width brush, okay, and hold it like a pencil. When you're dipping your paint into the brush, and I know this is all common sense, and I know you know how to do this, but I'm going to share this with you anyway, because it is, again, this is a discipline, and screen painting is challenging even to first graders, because what you want to do is you're really anticipating, well, I'm going to put a lot of paint on here and I'm going to go to town. Well, you got to do the exact opposite. Okay. So you want to go straight down with your brush. You got a little bit of paint. If you can see that little bit of paint, that's still too much paint on your brush. You need to knock it off. I do that with the kids all the time in the classroom. Get them, make sure they're paying attention. So you knock it off by just taking your brush and just going across the edge of your plate. Okay. And then what you want to do is you want to start in one corner, the painting process. I always suggest to go from one side or another and work your way down or up. But what you want to do is to create a nice surface that is going to be kind of even. It doesn't have to be exactly even, but you want to make sure that you get all the screen area entirely covered with your primer paint. You ready to go?
Yep.
All right, I need some audio so I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, you ready? So and you'll know immediately how much pressure to put on your screen when you're painting with your brush. So you don't need to put a lot of pressure on the screen. Just go back and forth. Now, I would be surprised if you don't have any holes that are not clogged. Are any holes clogged?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So if you have some holes that are clogged, you can use the side of your brush as an eraser. Check this out, look. Use this dry part, you can use that as an eraser. So the areas that you have that are clogged, just go back and forth like an eraser. Be patient and you'll see that these will disappear. And when you're painting with your brush, kind of use your wrist like a butterfly. Go back and forth, and work in that one area. And you'll notice very quickly a little paint goes a long way. So you don't need to necessarily dip and knock off every time you're doing one row of the screen. So just follow where you started. Get the area that's on the side that's stapled on the wood frame. Get that painted as well. And go back and forth, back and forth. And when you see the paint is starting to diminish from your brush, that's the time when you need to re-dip and knock it off. And remember, you've never done this before, it's no big deal. Just take your time and have some fun. So continue on. Go all the way down. How we doing?
Okay. So far.
Mhm.
Okay. A little paint goes a long way.
How thick is it supposed to look on the screen?
What's that?
How thick is it supposed to look on the screen?
You want to share with me what you
Thanks,
have so
Crystal.
far when it's done?
Huh?
Hold up your screen and share with me what you have done.
I don't know if you can see that.
No, can you hold it up and put it in front of the camera?
Okay. I am putting it in front of the camera.
Can you hold it up in front of your face?
Yeah. I got it on the wrong side.
Oh, okay. Linda,
Have
I can't see you.
I'm right
All I
here.
see are your initials.
Okay.
It's okay,
Allison.
John. She doesn't have a camera.
Oh, okay.
So you
Fred
won't see her.
and Allison, can you hold yours up in front of you?
Oops.
No, mine's about that. Okay.
You're good.
Yes.
Make sure you get all the way around, even where the screen is on the wood. You're good.
Okay.
Fred, you got yours is good too. It's kind of hard because you have light behind you
Yeah.
and I can't see, but I'm going to assume that your screen is entirely painted the white color.
Yeah.
It looks fine.
Thank you.
All right, cool. And Linda, you're good?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. And don't be bashful if I'm being too loud or I'm not being loud enough. Please let me know, okay? All right. So generally speaking, all you need to do is to prime your screen once. In other words, you don't have to put another layer of primer on your screen. When I'm doing a non-virtual workshop, if I'm in my studio doing the lesson, or I'm at the library or wherever, if I'm in a school, I will suggest to everyone to get up. And if you want to dry your screen really quickly, fan it like this, and the air goes right through it. If you count to 25 or even 30, by the time you're done counting to 30, touch it with your finger, and you will see that it is completely dry. So this simple thing works really, really well. When I'm working on a commission project, I'll have my fan next to me, and I'll let that help me along when I'm painting large areas. But this really is great for just working with the small 13 by 19 screens that you got here. So when you've done with that, go ahead and touch it with your finger. And mine's dry. I don't know about yours.
Pretty much.
All right. So on your table, do you have like any paper or anything to prevent any paint or whatever going through onto your working area? Or if you don't care about your working area, it's no biggie.
And a plastic tablecloth I don't like.
Okay. And how about you, Allison? Okay. And Fred, do you have anything on yours?
Yes, sir. Yesterday's newspaper.
Okay. All right, cool. Food for thought in the future. It's always best if you have something dark. Black is the best thing to have. If you have access at this point to get something that's dark or black, by all means, I would suggest you getting that. Because it'll make your painting process a lot easier when we get down the road.
Okay. And then I'll look.
Do we have something black?
How about you, Linda? You got something black or dark?
I actually got the newspaper, so.
My tablecloth is black with skulls. It was cheap after Thanksgiving.
Well, anything dark will work. And you'll see the reason why once you have that dark image underneath of the screen, how much easier it'll be for you to see when you're painting on the screen. So Linda, you said you do have something dark underneath of it?
I have newspaper.
Do you have anything that's solid color dark?
I will have to go find something. I'll have my husband look for me. Thank you, though. I'll have him
There you
look.
go. Yeah, put him to work. All right. So one of the reasons that it's important to have your screen dry rather quickly is because I want you to flip your screen now, because what you're going to do now is to paint the frame. Okay. And I have already taken the time to paint the inside of your frame screen for you because I have learned that people will freak out if they accidentally get any paint on the inside of their screen. So I've taken care of that step for you. So now what you want to do is to paint the top all the way around, okay? And then you want to paint all 4 sides all the way around. So using the same brush, using your primer paint, start with the top first, okay? So dip your brush. You don't necessarily need to knock off all the paint that you're dipping into your palette now, because you want to have enough paint on there to cover your frame rather easily. So you will be using more primer that's going to seep into the wood than obviously you would having it onto the screen. But believe it or not, with those 2-ounce bottles, you could probably end up painting half a dozen screens this size, if indeed you may have some other paint around. Anything that's water-based, we use all the best paints, exterior latex acrylic enamel paints, but you don't need to. You could find some household paints, mix it up really good. You are going to have to strain it. You can make a little cone, or you may have a painter's cone, and make sure your paint is strained, and you can go to town painting on any kind of screen. But you always have to follow the steps, and the first step, of course, is to prime your screen. Any questions?
Nope. So John, where do you find this type of screen? I mean, the raw material.
Where do you live, Fred?
Well, 1 foot in Berlin, Maryland, 1 in Ocean City, kind of on the
All
line.
right. Are you familiar with that huge metropolis called Bishopville?
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's where I live.
Okay.
And my studio is in Bishopville. And if you want to procure some of this super screen, you can make a trip out to the metropolis of Bishopville, and I'll give you some. How's that?
That's very nice offer. Thank you.
Otherwise, you could go to Lowe's or Home Depot. I don't know if they sell, I don't think they sell super screen, but they sell pet density screen, which is a little thicker than this,
Mhm.
which you can paint on. Or you could buy regular screen. But my suggestion is to keep in touch, stop on over, and I'll pass along some super screen to you.
Thank you very much. It's nice.
And that goes for you too, Linda and Allison.
What about me?
Thank you.
So once you get the top done, don't be bashful. If you get a little paint on your hands, don't worry, the primer, it'll come off in a couple of weeks. So I'm only teasing. Go ahead and do the sides. Paint the sides. You know, you can put it on your table and just hold one end, whatever. Common sense, whatever works for you. You probably need to put some more paint on your palette at this point. But as you can see, a little goes a long way.
Sorry.
Elena, are you there? Okay, no worries.
I'm just hanging in the background in case.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm not checking up on you. I'm just asking, is everything okay so far?
Yeah, everything's great
Okay.
Everything's fine.
from my point of view. But I am here. I will be here the whole time. I'm what they call the producer.
I know, okay.
Use that loosely, but
Share that with me. That's cool.
but yes, I am here. So if anybody needs anything, just give me a shout.
All right. While you're painting, I'll tell you a quick story. There was one of the screen painters back in the day. We're talking about the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. into the 60s. He was, his name was Johnny Eck. He was from East Baltimore. And when he was born in 1917, he was one of twins. And when his brother was born with 10 fingers, 10 toes. But when Johnny Eck was born, he had 10 fingers, but he had no toes. He had no bottom torso. He was born without a bottom torso, no legs. Sad, obviously, to have a handicap like that at birth. But here's a young man that had overcome his handicap to the point where he became world renowned in his own right. When he was a teenager, he and his brother, who were very close, decided to utilize his handicap with the circus. So he had become very popular in the circus route, and ended up.
Yeah, can I interrupt?
Yes.
We're not doing the outside of this, are we? So I mean, I did the tops. Are we supposed to do the rounds part too?
Yeah, all the way on the outside as well. Is that what you mean right out here?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, do that too.
That too? Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, you want to make sure your screen is totally primed, or your frame is totally primed. And again, I already did the inside, so you don't have to worry about that.
This one I was finished.
So this young man, Johnny Eck, and his brother, they went out into the carny world, and his show was known as the Half Man, and he performed all of these stunts with his hands, balancing himself and whatnot. He became so popular. Johnny Weissmuller, sound familiar? Tarzan. Well, he was actually in 2 Tarzan movies.
Wow.
You wouldn't recognize him because he was one of the chimps that was going like this, dressed up, you know, in a chimpanzee outfit. But he became world renowned. He was from East Baltimore, and when he came back, he took up screen painting. And actually, as a self-taught artist, like most of the others, they weren't polished materials, but being who he was, they're very valuable for what that's worth financially. So that's one little tidbit. Linda, are you finished with yours?
Just about. I'll be here in a moment or two.
No worries. Fred, you good?
Yes, sir.
Allison? Okay, cool. So what are you going to do with this thing? I have what I call a recycling department bucket, and it has water in it. And I take the brush and just drop it in, let it do its thing. But I like to recycle, repurpose, and reuse. That's what I'd suggest. You could use your sponge brush multiple times if you wash it right away, or stick it in water and just let it do its thing. And you'll have these aren't dollar store sponge brushes. These are watercraft applicating sponges. So they're really good quality, so they'll last a long time. Anyway, that's the recycling department bucket. And you probably are going to need it a little bit later. Your 2-inch sponge brush. When you are finished washing your brush, just with water is all you need, under a faucet, low flow faucet, and just squeeze it all out until the water is clear. Then you take a towel I take a towel, put it on the floor, and I wrap it, fold it over on both sides, and I just step on it with some pressure, and it takes all the water out. And then I finish it with a paper towel and squeeze it with my hands, and it's completely dry and you're ready to reuse it. So it's a real simple way that will enable you to reuse your sponge brush several times. So this is always the time. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, we got 45 minutes. Does anybody need to take a break?
No.
Okay. Are we all okay? Are you we're all good?
Yes.
Okay. You're the quietest.
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
And I will tell you, I've been very, very busy over the years sharing this art form and with commissions. I ship worldwide, but COVID, like what it's done to a lot of other folks, it's really hit me hard. All the residencies I had this past year were all canceled. I haven't been able to get into any avenue that enabled me to physically be there to share with you. I would like to think it's a lot more fun when we're all together. So this is my first Zoom that I've done since COVID. And I'm all ears at the end of this thing if you want to share anything. And I know, Elena, you will as well, which is great. So, but let's move along. For me, this is always a really fun time because I get the opportunity to enable you to open up your creative side perhaps a little bit more or expand it in as far as painting on a screen about a story. So normally what I would do is you would have a blank sheet of 11 by 17 cardstock paper, and we would be collaborating together with the accompaniment of a lot of books that I may have available and or already pre-made iconic designs like this one, which you all have. This is the first time I've ever enabled everyone to do the same design, because I think the virtual aspect of you not having this design and maybe other designs to choose from might have been a little bit discouraging for you because of the time elements that we have that we're working on. So I chose Mr. Al. This is based on graphic designer Charlie Harper. If you ever have an opportunity to look him up, the guy was amazing. He was world-renowned graphic designer. Back in his day, he was doing major works for all the major magazines from the 30s, the 40s, 50s, 60s, even up into his 70s, the 70 era, I should say. He was a muralist. One of the things that he emphasized was whimsy. So everything that he did had a little whimsy to it, which is, to me, very, very special. You could go to the Ward Wildfowl Museum and see Charlie Harper's designs. I would hope are still there in one of the areas of the museum. One of the things that I liked about Mr. Al is the fact that he's not really looking too happy. He's kind of stoic with his wings coming out, but he's really being patient, posing for us. So that's one of the things I liked about him, was the fact that he's got this stoic look and he's like, oh man, I really don't want to do this, but okay, I will. So this is what we're going to work on. And when you are working on any kind of format, it could be a watercolor aspect, a design, genre. canvas, pencil, whatever it is that you're working on, you always have to consider your storyline. What is going to be captivated on your piece of work, and what are the steps in order for me to do this properly? In other words, do you think it would be a good idea to paint Mr. Al first, and maybe even paint all the little dots first? Or do you think it would be a good idea to do some other area like the entire background first? Any ideas? What do you think would be the easy, I'm going to use this in real plain terms, easiest thing to do first? To paint the background or to paint the foreground iconic design of the owl?
Take the middle part, because if you do the outer part, you're gonna put your hand on it.
Good point.
You can approach it in different avenues. My suggestion today is to paint the entire background, even the area where the owl is going to be resting. Okay. So in order for us to do that, here's the finished product
Nice.
of Mr. Al. Okay. And as you can see in the background, we have what's called gradation of color. In other words, it starts at yellow and it goes all the way down, and about 1/3 of the way down, we're changing the color. Okay. From yellow to another change of color. Now, the whole time that you're going to be doing this, you're not going to be having it flip this way. You're still going to be where the prime side is of your screen. Okay. You're going to be painting on the prime side of your screen. Kabish?
Got it.
Okay. So what you want to do now is to take your designer palette, okay? And you have plenty of room on your palette, I would assume.
Yep.
And snag your yellow bottle, give it a little bit of shake, rattle, and roll, and hopefully it'll come out easily. Again, I have the same color that you have. And you want to start with just a 1/4 size worth of paint, and you'll be using your 1-inch sponge brush. Okay. So after you've shaken it up, put a quarter amount of paint in your palette, your designer palette. These are imported, by the way. These palettes that I have, they're imported from China, so they come a long way.
Chinette.
So you take your brush, same way, go straight down, touch the bottom of your designer palette. That's still too much paint on your brush. Okay, so right next to the color that you're working with, just knock it off on both sides. Okay, start at the very top and back and forth, just like you did when you were priming. Little bit of paint goes a long way. So just go back and forth until you get about 2/3 of the way down on your screen. And again, if you have any areas that are clogged, I would normally suggest we'll get your toothpick out, or what's a lot of fun, especially for the kids, is the straw, because the straw is an engineering marvel. When you blow from that one end of the straw, all this pressure builds up in a little hole of the other side of the straw, and you can blow the hole that's clogged on your screen right out. When I'm doing little jobs, I'll use a straw, but I have a compressor when I'm doing real big jobs, and that works really well.
I'm sorry, I have a question. We're doing this on the back side or the first side that we primed, correct?
The side that you have primed, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And don't forget to get along where the screen is stapled onto the frame. Get that part of the screen as well. And use your wrist like a butterfly.
And John, we're doing about how far down?
About 2/3 down.
Okay.
All right, we're running out of 25-cent size paint from my side. I don't know about you. When you're painting, just try to overlap the areas that you just did so you can have a nice even amount. And if you don't, it's still okay. Screen painting is very, very forgiving.
Have they done this in other of the old American cities, John, do you know?
You know, there's little dots here and there around the world. You can find some of these in Philly, and I'm sure you can, like in Florida. I know my screens are dotting areas even as far as Japan. So you know, but it's never been embraced anywhere like it is in East Baltimore.
Right.
And by the way, you spell Baltimore Bawlimor, depending where you're from.
That's it.
So when you've gotten to that 2/3 way down, may I suggest, let's do the fan thing again. And go ahead and fan it. Count to 30. And by the time you're finished, that paint will be dry. Even on a humid day, it works good. That's the beauty of working with latex paints. I've worked with oil on screens before, as well as other surfaces, but on screens, you have to wait at least a day. And with the technology of new products, paint products that they have out now, these are just amazing how long lasting they are. But when you spend $80 on a quart of paint, it better. I have some paints in my arsenal here that are actually, they've retailed at $85 a quart. I, of course, got them when they were discounted because nobody in their right mind would spend that kind of money on an $85 quart of paint.
Wow. John, there was a woman I heard, Dee Herget,
Oh, yeah.
her name was around Baltimore.
Dee Herget.
Herget.
Hold on one second. I don't know if you can see this because the background is not right,
Mhm.
but this is an original Dee Herget, and this is a typical scene that you would see in all these small neighborhoods in East Baltimore. It's the red roof bungalow with the swans down at the bottom and the brook and the straight trees. This is something you would see thousands of as interpreted by different artists. But this is an original D. Herget, which I cherish. This came out of my brother's townhome in Bolton Hill. He bought this at an auction, I don't know, 35, 40 years ago.
Mhm.
Pretty cool though.
Sure enough.
All right, so are we, how far are we along with that? Is everything dry? Linda's yours dry?
Still air drying. Give me about 10 more swipes here. We'll be fine. Thank you.
Okay. See, you didn't necessarily think you were getting another workout today, did you?
Mhm.
It's good. Nothing wrong with that.
John, if we have a couple of minutes at the end, I have a screen. It looked a little bit like the one you showed us that I got at an auction up in Gettysburg many years ago.
Oh, cool.
Could I show it to you?
Sure,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely. Is it signed?
Oh, I wish.
No.
And
You
I'm not-
know, most of the screen painters, and myself included, if you're given the responsibility, the wonderful responsibility of painting like a half a dozen window screens, most of the artists didn't sign them. Maybe they would sign one, but they wouldn't sign them all. So a lot of these screens, unless you were someone that knows a lot about screen painters and their works, you wouldn't even know who they were.
Yeah.
And that's not to mention all the ones that learn from these screen painters over time. So, yeah.
Yep.
But it is very, very probable that that could figure out who it is that did it.
Good. Yeah, it has kind of mustard paint, almost like you had on that one.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right. So are we all good?
All set.
All right. So you just got through painting one layer of yellow. I want you to repeat process. Start at the top and go right over the yellow area that you just got through doing. And the reason being is the more layers you add, the more pop your color is going to become. And even though this is the background is always just as essential as your foreground iconic design that's going to be the mainstay of your design. It's all about the whole storyboard. When you're working with lighter colors, the colors will actually deepen a little bit after it dries. You may or may not notice that the second time around, but you certainly notice the covering of your screen will become more enhanced when you put that second coat on. While you're doing that, I'll be back in a few. How are you doing, Linda?
But you're right, darker color. It's starting to pop. So it's
Cool.
working.
Yay. Allison, are you seeing a difference from the first layer to the second? Oh, your voice is muted.
Much brighter.
There we go. How about you, Fred?
Yes, much better.
Oh, cool. So just that one layer, and screen painting is really all about layers. It's amazing, even working with a porous area like this, how unbelievably defined the results will become when you're working with the magic of screen painting. It's really, really quite amazing. And again, I'll emphasize the fact that screen painting is very, very forgiving. So if you have mistakes, ultimately what's going to happen is you're the only one that's ever really going to notice. But that goes with just about any genre that you're working with. But screen painting is, again, it's very, very forgiving. All right, so you got your second layer of the yellow. Now what I want to do is to introduce, excuse me, it's called gradation. It's where you take one color and you blend it into another color that you were previously working with. And of course, it works really well when you're working with watercolors and such, but it works extremely well on screen. So you did the yellow. Now what I want you to do is to snag your red, okay? And I want you to put it literally right next to the yellow. And if you don't have any yellow left, put another little quarter worth of paint into that designer palette, and then put a quarter and it's a little spare change, another penny or so, literally right next to it. Don't put them over top of each other, just put them right next to each other.
Oh, can you clarify? So I got my quarter size of yellow, and what color goes right beside?
Red.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, we ready?
Ready?
All right, using the same brush, I want you to take and dip one half into the yellow and the other half into the red.
Oh.
Do you see what I got?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, when you knock it off, be mindful of the fact that you want to knock it off, but don't turn it and knock it off, because then you're going to be putting the yellow with the red. So you want to keep them separate. So when you knock it off, just move it over a little bit, turn it around, and knock it off right next to it. Okay? Capiche? Linda, you good?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. So now what I want you to do is to work on the area that is just the last 1 inch that you had the yellow that you did. I want you to place your yellow part of your brush and your red part of your brush right into that last area that you did, and go horizontally across the screen. And I want you to go back and forth, back and forth. Go down about 2 inches, just crossing back and forth. Okay? We good?
Okay, I see. I've got the one strip where it's yellow on top and red on the bottom. And do I continue pulling it down using the mixed colors?
I want you to, pulling it down.
Yeah, pull it.
You're going across horizontally, right?
Yeah.
Horizontally right across it, and just back and forth, and very slowly blend those two colors on in, just going down about 2 inches, that's all.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay? Cool. And you may or may not notice, but that's turning a slight orange.
So you actually, even though they're separate on the brush, you want them to kind of merge together?
Yes, but you want to do it in a fashion where you're going just straight across, back and forth, and blending that in. All right, so when you get that done, what I want you to do is take the same brush and dip it into the red only. No, okay, I'm going to change that. Let's take your brush and mix both the colors with your brush. Both your colors with the brush. Okay. Now what I want you to do is underneath the last area where you painted, I want you to paint, drag your brush and work your way down. Continue to work your way down. You have enough paint on your palette to be able to utilize all of that paint that's in your palette, and just continue going down. I add a little bit more yellow and red to it. Now, when you think of colors, you're thinking primary colors, red, yellow, blue. When you're thinking of secondary or tertiary colors, you're thinking the offspring of a red and a yellow, which is orange. Well, in your mind, in your visual sight, you may be thinking, well, this is not orange. Well, it's a version of orange. Okay, I'm hoping that you can see that this is a version of orange that's going on there, and it's not going to be exactly what Mr. Al has down here. This is a guide. So this and what you have are the same ingredients, but the color schemes are not exactly the same. But that's all okay. It's all okay. I'm more interested in you learning the very basics and what it means to take some primary colors and introduce them together combined. And you can actually create so many colors just from these 3 colors to start with. When you add black, which goes a long, long way, by the way, and or white, which goes a long, long way. So when you get to the very bottom, I want you to take a look and see what you think. What do you think of your piece so far?
So I got clogged holes. Should you get rid of them while it's still wet?
It's best to when they're still wet. Do you have a straw?
No, but I'll go get one and come back.
Maybe you could hand one over to Fred.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, John.
I'll be back.
Linda, do you have one?
You know, it's not good to have a straw nowadays, but that's okay. You can use a toothpick too, can I?
Yeah, use a toothpick. Push it in and twist it. How about you, Fred? Do you have a pin or a toothpick?
Have a toothpick right here.
Here we go. So I know we all know how to use a toothpick, but again, I'm just going through the motions. When I have a hole that's clogged, I have one right here. I push it all the way in and I give it a twist, and then I just pull it straight out. And that usually does the trick. Can I see yours, Fred?
Yeah, I hope so.
There we go.
I brought some to share.
Up and down a little. There we go. Cool. Cool. All right.
You can't see mine. It's too dark in here.
I know. I'm assuming
okay.
it looks absolutely fantastical, though. Allison,
Yes.
get real close to the screen. Deep breath. And blow, it'll blow right out.
It's a
Now,
real
be
little,
honest, is that fun or what?
I'm tired. It's, it's a real little straw. It's not quite leaving. Should I try the toothpick?
You can do both. Sure.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt
Okay.
it.
Here's my colors. Can you see, John?
Linda?
This is Pat. Can you see it?
No.
I'm sitting in a better light. Can anybody see it?
I can see it. It's really light, but I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. It looks
Okay.
like-
Pat,
Yes?
you're not even on there. I don't even see you up on the top.
I'm
He's
at the
here.
top.
Here, look, I'm gonna do something really quick.
I apologize.
I apologize. It's okay.
No, here, look, here. Linda, if you wanna, I mean,
Oh,
Linda.
there's Chelsea.
Pat, if you wanna hold it, I'll remove this in a second, but if you wanna hold it up now, he can absolutely.
Oh, okay. Hi.
Okay.
Have
I'm
you-
gonna put her back in the little box in a couple seconds, but just for,
Put me back in a little box. That's what my mom used to do. Put me back in the box.
Pat, have you not taken a workshop with me before?
Yes, I have. And I,
Okay, I knew you looked familiar then.
yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Looks great. Looks
Okay.
great.
there we go.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so well, I know this is, you weren't figuring this is going to be so stressful, but I have a few more seconds, another 30 seconds to fan this paint dry.
Okay.
John, how long would you say, well, with this kind of screen, would the screen painting last like forever? Or does sun fade it?
Well, I'm not going to philosophize here, but nothing lasts forever.
Thanks.
But I have painted screens that have been on the water for 25 years.
Mhm.
And they still look good. But you have a certain responsibility when you have a painted screen, and that is to keep it clean,
Mhm.
because screens are like magnifiers with dirt. So if you have it in a window or a door where it's constantly getting air, it's going to get dirty. And what's going to happen is, if you don't clean it at least twice a year, just clean it with medium to hot water with a couple drops of dishwashing liquid. Get not a steel or a metal abrasive brush, but like a dishpan brush,
Mhm.
and actually do a little hands-on, hands-off, and get that clean, and then take a dry towel, and you'll see the dirt coming off. And then you'll see all the color all come back.
How nice. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. All good.
This is so much better when it's in person though, John.
Say what?
It's so much better when it's in person. I can,
I know. I know. It is.
this is good. This is good.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
No, this is good. You're a good teacher.
All right, so is everybody done this?
Yep.
All right, touch the bottom, the last part you painted on your screen. Look at your fingers. It's still wet?
No.
No.
Okay, mine is. All right, so now what you want to do is you want to take your Mr. Al, the design, and what you want to do is to put them right underneath your screen. I don't know if you should be able to see that now. Push the paper right up against it. You could actually insert it a little bit on side to side so it'll stay in place. I usually don't do this in the classroom. Usually I introduce laser vision eyes, but we're just going to do it this way to simplify it for you.
I have a blank Mr. Owl.
So there should be another one in there.
I put one in every single one.
Let me go look in the box.
Please let it be
Okay.
in there. Oh, please let it be in there.
Your scissors.
Elena,
Yeah.
Does anybody have a ruler?
has 2 owls in it.
No.
Oh, no.
Okay, it is blank, but I can sketch it
Okay.
on another piece of paper.
Fred, do you have ruler?
I do.
Do you have anything that's round that you could create the top of the head?
Sure. Oh, yeah,
Here's
yeah.
what I use.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, but something that would conform to that area space,
Yep,
a bottle top.
Sure.
A jug top, whatever. The
Yep.
bottom of a small paint can. I mean, or you may have a series of rulers, that one will, protractor type rulers, that have, some curves in them.
I am so sorry. I apologize. I thought I put one. Well, apparently I put a blank one in his.
No worries.
oh, don't
That's
worry.
not how it was supposed to happen. Wow, that's
No sweat. Yeah, I've
We
got
got a blank one. Do we need a blank one?
a blank one.
So you'll
I have
need
a blank one
a,
and I have with an owls on it. Do I
you'll
need?
need a permanent marker. Got a permanent marker?
Okay,
No.
in the other room.
Get yourself a permanent marker.
Okay.
So Elena, these are the things that I remember next time to print to things that you'll need when you're
We tape
starting.
it in place.
You know,
we tape
the
it?
marker, paper plate for, palette, that kind of stuff, just the little stuff.
Yep.
it's
Alright, you're
okay.
good.
It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
I am so sorry that I don't know how.
Nope.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Oh yeah,
Do we
go
tape
ahead.
this? Do we tape this in place so it doesn't move?
You can, but I don't think you really need to. The most important part is you want to make sure that that the whole owl is right up against the screen.
Okay.
And
Yes.
I can push mine right in and it's not going anywhere. Even if
Mine
I'm laying
does,
it
and
down
that's
like
why
this.
I'm gonna tape mine in because it's moving.
Whatever floats the boat, it's all
But
good.
yeah, you're right.
Fred, I would suggest,
Whoops.
sorry, Mr. Al.
All right. Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, I can.
You
sketch.
try to get, where's Mr. Al's head? He's about 1/3 from the top.
Well,
Perfect. So now after that, really what you're going to need is just a ruler, a straight edge, and
Ruler?
try to don't make it exactly, but you might want to try to capture the eyes and capture his stoic look with his wings coming down.
got it.
And then I would just kind of let the rest of it fall into place.
Mhm.
Are you
Sure.
good with that?
I am good with that. Thank you.
I am good. I have total confidence
Thank
in your
you.
joyful approach.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. But don't wait for me, you guys.
No worries. I'm going to pull us a little closer. All right. So, my friends, do you have your Mr. Al up against your screen in the back?
Yes.
All right. So take your permanent pen
Okay.
and just like a coloring book, outline it. Okay. Start with the head and just work your way around. And remember, this is the first screen you've ever done. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay? Start with the head, then you can even get the bottom. And then you're good to go. And all the little lines that are here that are coming vertically down over his head, you don't have to put those in yet.
Right.
Okay?
So
If you
the
do, it's
arc goes-
okay. I'm
the arc-
sorry?
Head and the line underneath?
No, the lines that are coming down, the very top, you can
Okay.
put them in there, but you don't really have to because this is your own interpretation. You might want to put
Okay.
something else in there other than those lines.
Okay.
I would suggest doing the nose, doing the V that leads from the nose,
Mhm.
and separating where the nose and the body is with the two horizontal lines. And then don't concern yourself with the dots that are in the middle. And
Just going to.
draw out the wings. And you could also draw two vertical lines for the sticks for the feet. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right.
Is this helpful, me holding it up like this?
For me, it is. Yeah. Thank you.
We don't have to put any of the details in, but what we want to.
It almost looks like Cleopatra,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
So are we drawing all the way down now?
I'm sorry, you what?
Are we drawing all the way down or are we drawing just the top part?
No, yeah, just continue on with the drawing process.
Okay.
Yeah, your goal is to getting Mr. Al completely outlined,
Okay.
even down to the feet. You can do the feet.
Okay.
And I actually have Mr. Al sitting on a log, which would not really, it appears to be a log if you use your imagination.
This would be a perch.
But one thing about Charlie Harper's designs is they're all simple graphic designs that he does in all of his works, which makes it so special. But it's like a Japanese style painting. It takes years to really have the finished product. It's just amazing. So simple, creating something simple looking is never easy. It's probably some of the most challenging. But that's another thing with screen painting. I'd love the opportunity to be able to challenge anyone to create. The difference is you're creating on something magical, which is screens, which most of the people in the world have never seen or heard of. Now you're going to be part of the team.
So you design your own also, John, correct?
I utilize whatever tool works best. I do a lot of my own original works. I also utilize I prepare my works from pictures, from photographs. If somebody has like an animal, a cat or a dog, I'll use the image of the dog to create my story for the commission piece. So, yeah.
Great.
John, are we supposed to be doing the eyes?
Sure.
Okay, but not the dots? You said don't worry about the
I
dots?
wouldn't worry about the dots. You might want to do something different.
Okay.
Once you finish that, the body.
Okay.
John, are we supposed to put that last brush we used in water? The one with the red
Yes,
and yellow?
it would be suggested.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would like
I
that.
know
So,
I probably spoiled you whenever we do a workshop, I have multiples of everything,
yeah, you do.
including colors, palettes, bottles, everything of paint. But this is good. I like the frugality of this from the standpoint that you can work with anything that you have. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have everything to create. How you doing, Fred?
Well, I've got this much so far.
Oh, that's great.
So
I think you're good.
that'll get me going.
Did I see the eyes on there as well? Yeah? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Back on the screen?
I think I just marked magic marker my nose.
You were supposed to put the magic marker on the screen, right? I drew my design with this in the back, and the front of the screen is my magic marker.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm not sure if I did it right. I'm doing my marker where it's stapled. Is that wrong?
Yeah, no, you're doing it right. You're doing it
Okay.
over the painted area.
yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
I just saw Fred's and I was thinking something else. I want to make sure I was right.
No worries.
I was doubting myself.
Linda, are we on the same page?
Mine's coming along. Looks good. Thank you.
Okay.
This is good, John. This is much better than we did the first class I had with you. We came up and drew something from a picture or something.
Yeah,
I'm a terrible drawer of, I may have the idea, but I can't draw.
well,
Mine turned out terrible.
I'm sure that others that have looked at it will disagree.
Well, it was a sad elephant, so let's just put it, it was a sad and elephant. I've come a long way.
All right, so one thing I want to share with you real quickly, if I could get your attention. As you can see, this is a finished product, right? Okay, but you're painting everything that's on the stapled side where all of your painting is. And this is a finished product because once you finish painting your design,
Hey, there, I need that computer. Oops.
can you all hear me?
Yes,
I can.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, I think Linda's muted.
I'm fine, thank you.
Once you finish painting on your screen, you're going to be taking the screen off. Then you're going to be painting your frame with the color. And then you're going to flip the screen around so that the painted side is on the inside of your framed area like this. Okay. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So you got this, and then you're going to be flipping it around so that it's on the inside of your frame once it's painted. So just so you don't get confused, because I know that could be a little confusing perhaps. I don't know. All right. So let's do the overall body of Mr. Al, the large part in the middle. And what I want you to do is to take a quarter size of white and a dime size of black. And I want you to mix them with your brush, your 1-inch brush, in the palette.
A quarter size of white and a dime size of black.
Quarter size of white and a dime size of black. Yes, please.
Side by side or to get, oh, never mind. Never mind.
A little black goes a long, long way. But what we want to create is the light gray. Okay, a light gray.
Dark shade. More
Take
white.
your brush and just mix it in small swirls, and you should come up with a nice light gray very quickly.
Are we painting now with that?
Okay, so you should be painting that part of the owl, Mr. Owl, with
Uh-huh.
the light gray. Okay? All right, if I can get your attention, this little brush does a lot of really cool things. If you'll notice, it's got a thin straight line at the top, and it's also got 2 points on both sides. So when you are painting, you're going to be removing the paper from, remove the paper. And then what you want to do, if I'll just share with you really quickly how to utilize all parts of this brush. In other words, I'm looking at the very top of the straight line of this brush, and I'm going right under the black marker that I just made. And we're going back and forth, back and forth. And then I'm turning my brush and I'm going the other way, keeping my eye on the very outer part of the brush. And I'm doing the same thing on the other side. And you know what you can do? You can turn this guy if it makes it easier for you to get in those areas. Go back and forth, get those holes that may be clogged. You're professional screen painters now. You know not to add a lot of pressure. And go back and forth. You can follow the line on the base as well. And again, it's the first one you've ever done. Don't beat yourself up if you go outside the line. And then you can finish the inside of the whole thing. Now that background area doesn't become the background area anymore, does it? It's now part of your foreground design. It makes it a lot easier when you do those steps that you find the best way to do the steps. And I've always found doing the backgrounds first. Then you can get a lot of depth, background, middle ground, foreground. Capiche?
Oui.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, yes, sir. Ooh. All right. I'm going to recycle that brush in my recycling department bucket.
Where do you buy your supplies, John, like brushes and that kind of?
I get my brushes online through a paint company. Actually, it's a boat company called Jamestown Distributors.
J-Town, are they commercial?
But you can go to like Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace Hardware. Ace Hardware usually sells a better quality brush. They really charge way too much money for them. They're like usually $1 a piece.
Yeah.
But if you keep your brushes clean, you're really they'll really take you a long way, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Or
About Michael's and those. I mean,
Michael's is way too expensive.
I go to the dollar store, to tell you the truth, for these kind of
You
brushes.
could get the dollar store version, but they're really caca. It's like getting the 79-cent bottles of acrylic paint at Walmart. They're way.
Where do you get your acrylic paint from?
I go to paint stores. I pack a 6-pack, and I ask them to see their best. I want to see their mist tints. Every paint store has mist tints.
What are they called?
And you can usually get a $40, $50 gallon of paint for like $5 or less.
That's the paint, then you have to water it down?
No, you're using house paint colors right now.
Oh, really?
You're just using
thought this
very
was acrylic.
expensive exterior house paints right now.
I thought we were using acrylics that you bought in the store.
What's that?
I thought we were using acrylics that you bought in the store.
Yeah, but the paints that you're using, I get them at a paint store.
Okay,
And I just bought the primary colors in gallons, and they were $47 or $48 a gallon. But that'll go a long way for me.
well,
But if you go into the paint store and you put on your best smile and you say, "May I see your mist tints, please?" They'll either tell you, "Oh no, the company won't let us," or they'll be nice about it. Or you could go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace Hardware, and they always have them out. They always have their mist tints out, and they don't have to be like the $50 gallons. You might find a color that you like that will suit you for what needs you want as far as your color application is. And you don't necessarily need a gallon. You could get quarts. They have mist tint. They make mistakes of quarts too.
well, but you just use it you pour that into the size that you like and just use it from the can?
Because this is what I do for a living, as crazy as it might sound. I order my bottles. I have bottles like this in every size from 2 ounce up to 24 ounce. Because I had been doing so much work in schools and everywhere else and commissions and everything. So I have a kaleidoscope. I have a whole rainbow. I got maybe 4 or 5 dozen different colors of, maybe 5 or 6 greens and of reds and browns and oranges, light orange, medium orange, dark, deep
So I can
orange.
use,
So-
I have a friend that does acrylic painting and she's got all these paints. I mean, thousands and thousands.
Yeah,
Because she likes different colors.
yeah, that's
I
where
could
I'm
get
at.
some from her and use.
That's where I'm at. That's what I do. And that's probably what most artists that are in doing whatever they do. But if you're starting off and you're really intrigued by this, I would suggest, since you're close by, get in touch with me and I'll give you some screen. Everything is under $1 million.
Okay,
Can't beat free.
I'll write you a check for $1 million and it'll keep
You
count.
can write me a check for free,
Okay,
but I always, I've learned just take one step at a time. When you do an art project, you're all excited at first, and then, that you have life gets in the way, like John Lennon said. So, but my door is open. In other words, I'm here.
it is because I can sell the screen. I try to test it. Go, oh, there's tells. Yeah, thank you, John. I mean, I really like this now that I can do something that I don't have to draw myself.
Yeah, but you could go online and go to a punch in clip art of dogs in pose.
Who?
And you'll get like 100 to 1,000 of them.
Punching what?
Or you could go, clip art anything, and you can
Mhm.
find a lot of different images that you could go clip art educational designs of cats. And you'll probably get a whole lesson plan because they're all geared toward, grades of schools, but you'll also get the visual images. So
Well,
there's a
I
lot-
even have some coloring books that I could use something from there, but this is a lot
yeah,
that what we
sure.
did about 3 or 4 years ago, you actually, we brought a photo in and we drew it, or we conceptually thought of what we wanted to do, and that was no good for me. This is perfect.
Well, Charlie Harper Charlie Harper's the guy. I love his work. It's great to be able to share his work. And you can work from his work like everything else. I mean, all the great artists, they get their inspiration from others. That's the great compliment of being an artist, when people admire your work and you can work from their work. That's what it's all about.
Okay, I got the body painted in. Do I do, looks like on the pictures there, the top part, I guess I can't quite see what's next.
So what you want to do with Mr. Al, the rest of the body, with the exception of the white areas. As you can see, there's light areas there. Those are all white. So you got black eye, white eye, part of the eye, black, and then white, okay? Underneath the nose, horizontally, is white. All the other dots are white on the top and on the sides, but you don't have to worry about that right now. What we want to do is the base of all of this, the rest of the owl, okay? And you could omit painting the white area that's under the owl's nose. You could omit the area where he's got that cross stern look that's white, but everything else you want to paint. Everything else you want to paint, and you want to paint it yellow and red combined with a dime size of black. Capiche? A quarter of yellow, a quarter of red, and a dime size of black. And mix them all with a dry 1-inch sponge brush that you've cleaned.
Dry wide or,
No, a 1-inch brush,
okay.
okay?
I have a question.
Jess,
Could I play around with the color some? Do I need to do it that brown color?
no, absolutely not. You can paint in purple if you want.
Do you have any like kind of suggestions we should keep with dark colors though, for it to show up better?
Well, the one thing you want to do is to have contrast. And when I mean contrast is contrast of light and dark.
Okay.
So as you can see, Mr. Al, actually that's a brown. It's like
Okay.
what's called a russet brown. His body and his wings are. But you could use red and black, or you could make red and blue, which will give you purple, and add a little black to that, and that'll give you a brown, close to a brown color. It's a tertiary color, but when you start mixing a lot of, it's funny, if you mixed all the colors, you would get brown, no matter what color. If you have a whole bunch of colors, you'll end up with brown. But if you do mix red and blue, it'll give you a purple. And if you add a little bit of red to that, like if you did a little less than a quarter, 3 versions of a quarter, a quarter, and quarter of those 3 colors, you'll have a darker kind of brown that I would use on the body. And then you could also use that for your frame, or not. You can make it pink. You can make it yellow. You can make it red. But you want to make sure that it's a contrasting color so that Mr. Al really pops, and that your frame is going to be encapsulating what Mr. Al is posing for. So you have a contrasting color on your frame, and Mr. Al is going to be contrasting with your light variation in your background color. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, you are.
The red, blue, and a little bit of black makes brown.
You could do the red, blue, and a little bit of red, blue. What did I say?
Black.
Red, blue, and a little bit of black. quarter, quarter, and a dime.
Okay,
Or not, you could use another color, but I think my emphasis is just to make sure is that you have contrasting colors of light and dark. Fred, am I making sense to you, sir?
Yes, you are.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
So I'm finding on the arms, I'm getting a lot more with the holes stuck with paint. Does that make sense? Or does it just mean I'm using too much paint?
Are you knocking the paint off every time you dip?
I thought I was, but
That's all part of the process, my dear.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm having the same problem.
And well, here, I know why. You just got through mixing all that paint onto that brush. And there's way too much paint on that brush to start with.
okay.
So if you can blow it out, that's great. Or if you can get a rag and go from the back, don't go from to the front where you're painting on, but if you can go to the back, you might be able to dapple a little bit of that paint out between the holes that are clogged.
Okay.
Or if you have a straw or a toothpick, or you could just blow on it with your lungs. Get really, really close, almost to the point where you're going to lipstick your lips and blow it out.
Yeah, I'm using a little tiny brush and having same issue with globbing.
That's not uncommon.
I'm going to the back side now.
Me too. Hey, John, is all of the permanent markers supposed to be not showing when we're done?
Eventually, if you add layer or two, it will diminish.
Okay.
But again, this is the first one that you've done. So the permanent marker, it will show through with this design that you've completed. I mean, even on the one that I have completed here, if you look close enough, there's marker that's on it, but it actually helps define the emphasis of your contour lines. So I don't know if that helps answer your question,
Yes,
but I wouldn't worry about it.
yes, thanks.
Sure. I'll take my brushes. If like I had 100 of them, like in the classroom, I would wash them all and then I put them all in rows on a towel. And then I put another towel over top of it and I'd step on them. Or even better, I'd have the kids jump on them. They loved doing that. And by the time they were finished, they would be dry. But if you have just a few, you can wash them out and stick them in a towel and then just kind of squeeze it gently. And before you know it, they're all dry and ready to rock and roll.
Good idea. Thank you.
These are dry. But you always want to make sure your brush is dry. And you can always finish it off with a paper towel. just to make sure. No, they're all good. Yep. Cool. I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to see everybody's works.
Well, hope we won't.
And
let you-
I do remind everybody that number one, this is not a competition. And I think that all of you should take personal pleasure in the fact that this is something that you've created that you've never, ever done before. And I hope that you're having fun while you're doing it, which is really special when you're creating something and you're having a good time while you're doing it and you're learning something. I mean, this is an art form that is, as you can see, it's a very, very simple in technique, but you have to learn the techniques first. And to be able to increase your confidence, you have to, like everything else, you just have to repeat process. And the more you do and the more you research, it all works itself out, and you'll be able to create and have a good time with it. And people, I guarantee you, people will be amazed. They're going to love it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Good for you, John.
If I wish to make my brown a little bit darker, do I add more black to it?
Either that or try a little blue.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So John, what was the most exciting or fulfilling commission job you ever did?
Oh, wow. Well, I'll tell you one that I had recently. I had a couple in Florida that wanted me to do a commission for a room that had an open area. I think it's facing their golf course that is behind their home. And they had sent me 3 designs. They were iconic designs of very popular places that were of worldly origin. And so they wanted me to pick the one that I wanted to do. And I was like, no, I want you to pick, I'll do the one that you want me to do. So it ended up, we did agree on the same one. And it was the cave cliff dwellings of Anasazi.
Oh, yeah.
And so I did this screen painting for them, and it was 3 feet high, and it was almost 8 feet wide.
Oh, my God.
Wait a minute. And when I got it done, I could not believe I did it. This is,
Oh, my gosh. That's gorgeous. Wow, way to go.
yeah. But they're all real. Did I do it right?
I think so.
Yeah. Did I have it upside down?
Nope.
Yeah. But I don't know. I there is really no one. That's just one I did recently that I was
Boy,
really.
did you go down there and to
No, my helicopter's broken always.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is really great. Yeah, I got some holes to.
How are the wings turning out for everybody? Are we getting the holes unclogged?
Yes.
It's going along well, thank you.
Good. I'll take that one on my bad. I should have indicated that once you've mixed all of the paint with that 1-inch brush, don't use it on the screen because you're going to clog everything. And you can't go out, once you have a certain size or area, you can't really go out exponentially. You have to stick within that limit. But now you've learned something.
John, could I show you the screen real quickly?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so it's about 3 by 6, or can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if I've got this aimed right, but the, classic bungalow swans,
Yeah.
etc. So it's it was actually at a yard sale in Gettysburg, but 1985.
85.
Yeah.
Can you get the bungalow side to me any closer?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, this
I
was
put them next to you so you can see it.
oh, okay. Wow.
This was done before 85. That's when I bought it.
Oh, that's when you bought it. Okay.
Yep.
Wow. That technique, that could be a Tom Lipka,
Mhm.
Fred. I'm not the one, but my friend who started the Screen Painting Society and came out with a book in the whole 9 yards,
Yeah.
Elaine F., she would probably recognize the artist that did this,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
it's really nice.
I love it.
If I ask how much you paid for it.
I paid $40.
Okay.
Yep. And
That-
yeah, it's in Gettysburg every
Is
night.
that on a wooden frame?
Yes, it is. And then
Great.
I have black fabric behind it.
Gotcha.
Yep. So
That is really cool. Do you have it somewhere that you display or?
well, I always keep it out of the light.
Right.
Where I'm living right now has a lot of windows, not much wall space.
Gotcha.
But I would like to keep it out. Yeah.
There's 2 final things that I do when I've completed a painting, a screen painting. And one of them is to flip the painted side over. And it takes a while to learn how to do it, but I use black paint on a wide brush, a 2 or 3-inch wide brush. And I very, very carefully scroll over the back of the screen to eliminate any bleed throughs.
Mm.
That takes a while, because if you get any of the black paint that goes through the other side, then it's on the painted side. But that's one of the things. And then the other thing that I do when I've completed a painting is I'll coat it with water-based gloss polyurethane.
Ah.
And I usually put 2 to 3 coats of it
Mhm.
on, and that will prevent any color loss, because it's gloss and the sun reflects from a shiny area instead of absorbing it. And that'll enhance the life of a screen considerably by doing that. And if you scrubbed it really good and you cleaned it, dried it, and then put another coat of polyurethane on it, and you did that once a year, it would probably it will last a very, very, I don't know how long it would last. But I have screens that I've done that I haven't done any of that to, and they still look great. So,
Well, maybe could I bring it over to your shop sometime?
oh, absolutely.
Okay. I'll do it. Okay. Well,
Yeah, and
thank you.
I think, did I put my cards in there? Yeah.
Garden, yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
So anybody ready to hold up their screen? Let me see the bods.
Well. I don't know if you can see. Oh, there it is.
Oh, there we go.
Well, it's at R2D,
Oh, yeah.
R2D2 at the moment.
No, I think it's great. And, okay, and you got the log on the bottom. That's great. You can add elements to that, Fred. I mean, I put in the little pink flower at the top here.
Yeah, I like that.
And when my consideration of doing this style is the same graphic style that this design is accompanying. In other words, it's not a freehand flower. It's a stylized, graphic, simple, it's a V and a U at the bottom for each of these leaves. And, he's just got a real simple, his technique is real simple. And it's all about angles. And this complements that. And that's why I did it this way. So I wanted to make sure that everything was real simple in design based on Mr. Al.
Nice.
Or not. That's the whole thing. It's your design. And here's another thing. Not that you would want to do it, but if you're not happy with something, like if you weren't happy with the flower that you did, you could always go over that and repaint it. But you have to take into consideration all of your backgrounds and, matching all that up. But if you were to prime this area first, or even just go over it with paint within that area and change it around, you would have, a different look.
Right.
So,
Nice.
but I think it looks great.
Thank you.
One of the things that you always need to remember, like most of us screen painters that haven't done it over the years, is to sign it.
Oh, yeah.
Sign it and date it. And you can use your permanent marker to do that when you get to that point. Is everybody finished with the bod? It's awfully quiet.
I'm not. I'm still painting, but I'm having fun.
Okay.
I'm kind of finished. I didn't do very good staying in the lines on the wings was my main problem.
That's okay. The wings can be bigger. Can I see?
Yeah, can you see it?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. No. That's go down to the legs. Let me see down to the legs. Yeah. Now, you don't have to, but with the legs, my question would be, okay, where is that Mr. Al? What is he resting on? Is he resting on a log?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're happy with him on that log, that area of the log, that's great. Or you can stretch the log out a little bit more.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Okay.
And any other elements that you may wish to add to it. But where we're heading to next is to, you're going to need a screwdriver. Everybody got a flathead screwdriver? What?
Yep.
These are the things that when I'm, next Zoom I do, I'm going to make sure I do a printed portion of the materials that I give you, that you'll have these collection of things prior, like a paper palette, like a bucket to put your brushes in, towels, a flathead screwdriver, because you're going to need the flathead screwdriver to take the staples out, because you're going to take your screen off, and you're going to need a stapler. You have a regular stapler?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody?
Yep.
Are we doing this before we finish the white part of his face?
Well, given the time elements, you could
Okay.
finish the face later, or even after you turn it around.
Okay,
Is that okay with you?
yes.
Okay,
So a flathead screwdriver and a stapler.
yes.
Okay.
Patricia, you got the like?
I'll wait till I'm done painting. I'll watch what you do. I mean,
And since we were
Staples.
recording this, it will be on YouTube, so if anybody needs to go back.
Well, what I understand is I'm gonna take the staples out.
Yeah, you're gonna take the staples
They
out.
can
and then you're
paint
gonna-
all the frame.
And then you're
paint
gonna
the
paint
all-
the- Right, paint the
Not
frame
the-
with the exception, the side that you took the screen off of, you do not
Yeah.
paint that. Yep,
All right, so I'm gonna make sure the one that, and then I'm gonna turn it inside out and put
you
the,
got it,
in the end where the frame is. Yeah, okay.
right. And you're gonna staple it, starting in one corner. And then move over and do the next corner and then do the third corner. And you're gonna kind of very gently taut it. So it's, you're stretching it. And then leave the last corner for the very last staple that you're due.
Okay,
That's the very last one. So you do
Okay.
3 corners, do all the staples in between about every 5 inches.
okay,
And then the last one you'll pull while you're stapling to stretch the
Uh-huh.
whole thing out. Just keep an eye on where the staples come out now and see how I did them. That's
Yes.
basically what you want to do. Is just follow
I
that.
got it. Okay, all right. I just want to keep painting.
And getting the staples out, you kind of have to dig a little bit into the stapled area and turn
Uh-huh.
your screwdriver a little bit back and forth until it comes up. Sometimes you might
Okay.
need a pair of pliers,
All right,
but just don't poke a hole in your hand. Small
okay, I
detail.
won't.
I'm insured for $1 million, but I don't know. I don't think you're gonna need it.
We'll straight, my million for your supplies.
Here we go.
And for
We're
my
even.
injuries, okay?
Okay.
Are we just prying the staples out? Is that what we're doing now?
Yes, but
Okay.
right before you do that, Allison, look at where the staples are initially.
Uh-huh.
And kind of keep that in the back of your head and say, okay, well, that's where I want to put the others once I flip it around. But you're not going to do that right away. You're going to take the screen off and then paint the frame, and then you're going to do the stapling.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay?
All right.
Linda, are you okay?
I'm fine and still painting and having fun, but I follow what you say. No problem there.
Am I making any sense?
Yes, you are. I understand. So no
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is that print backwards?
No,
Oh, okay.
good.
I'm looking at it and it's backwards. It's like a mirrored image. This is our book that the founder of the Screen Painting Society, Elaine F., took a few years to do. We're in our second press. New York Times Press picked it up as a must purchase over the holidays like 5 years ago. And it's absolutely phenomenal in every step of how screen painting evolved. The stories in there are just hilarious. There was one story in there while you're working. I won't interrupt except with a silly story, but this is actual.
Could I take
Back in the 1700s, there was this German monk And we all know monks have probably specific times on their hands, you know, making wine and other stuff. And aside from a lot of praying, and there's a picture of him. He is got these heavy leather gloves on, and he is working with molten metal, and he's pushing a ball of molten metal through holes that are starting like golf ball size, maybe even larger, and they're going down to really small holes. And he's pushing them through while it's still soft enough until he gets a real fine mesh, which is the beginnings of screens. And he's doing this on a swing. He's doing it on a swing. I mean, I figure, man, he must have a few glasses of wine every night he gets on this thing. He's crazy enough to work with molten metal and with leather gloves, and he's pushing the metal through, making it really fun. I mean, oh my God, that just blew me away. Anyway,
Amazing.
that's just one small story in the book.
Hey, John, could I take a picture of that book cover?
Yeah,
I can look
you
at
can
it
go online.
there. Thank you.
Got it?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I gotta clean this up.
She also came out with the DVD. This is all about Baltimore back in the late 80s. This won first prize in the documentary at Sundance. This is good stuff. So she is the engine behind screen painting. She is amazing. And this is another award-winning piece that she did. And then there's this crazy guy, they call him Mr. I. He came out with his How to Paint on a Screen with Mr. I just this past year. And you can also get that.
Okay,
It's only $20.
nice.
I'm sticking to it.
Well, you can, did you ever go to the ACC down in Convention Center, American Craft Council?
The ACC, no, I can't say I've been to that.
Yeah, it's usually in August, of course. I don't know about this year, but it's all media. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Metal, painting, jewelry.
What's it, the title of the,
Well, it's called the American Craft Council.
okay.
And yep, if you just look it up under that name, but there's some just really, it's almost museum stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, I mean, it's not museum prices. Maybe some things might be, but generally it's within reach. But some beautiful, I think, work. I just don't know if they'll. I know that Artscape has been canned for this year.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of years.
Yeah.
In fact, Artscape was always the hottest week of the year,
No kidding.
no matter what. And the one year we did it, we were Elaine F. again. She's pretty, she's got that way with her, but she got us inside the Meyerhof to do our thing for that whole entire weekend.
Fantastic. Yeah, a lot
And,
of,
myself, along with a couple of other screen painters, we did workshops and had like 30, 40 people at each workshop.
that is so good. Wow.
It was really an undertaking because they put paper on the whole entire, oh my God, it was huge. One of the many huge.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yep.
Everybody had a good time.
Well, it's been suggested that they move it to the fall because you are right. It's absolutely the
Ah,
scorching weekend.
brutal.
Yep.
But you know what I found is over the years, all of the different events, there's there's so many slices you can get out of a pie and it doesn't become tasteful anymore.
Mhm.
And I unfortunately, I found that there's an overlapping bridge of events that had been occurring all of the time. And what happens is the amount of gigs that are happening at one time, you're not going to get all of the number of people that you would want to go to that, because there's so many in that same day.
Yes.
And I think that's been a big problem. I don't know how that could ever be adjusted, but
Yeah, it's true, because the Sugarloaf, what you might have been to up at Timonium Fairgrounds. I forget when,
yeah.
but that's pretty cool also. But
Yeah, I've done a couple of shows at the Timonium Fairgrounds
mhm.
as well. Screen painting is one of those weird art forms that, number one, I think it got a rap in the very beginning of the onset of screen painting. It never reached any quite height as far as polish work,
Mhm.
because all of the screen painters were plumbers, electricians, shoe salesmen, whatever. They were all blue collar individuals who never had any art experience. So their pieces were more folky, and they still are for that matter. It's considered a folk art.
Mhm.
But it never commanded that realm of quantitative individuals that would put screen painting in a category of, with canvas or watercolor, because it never really has been exploited that way, because quite honestly, it's really, really hard to make a living
Sure.
for most any artist until you get to a certain plateau, I guess. But screen painting is one of those art forms that unless you're actually with the pieces that you have in hand and you're sharing with them just the small venue of a privacy issue, and sharing with them, look, you can only see on one side, you can't see on the other, and look, you can do whole porches, or you can do little windows, or you can hang it on your wall or whatever. People don't get it. They just don't get it. It's the light bulb just does not shine that bright unless you really actually share that with them.
Mhm.
And that's been a kind of, I think, a thorny way. It's just been difficult. Fortunately for me, before COVID, I was doing, a lot of residencies and schools all throughout Maryland.
Mm.
And I'm hooked up with the young audiences of Maryland. I'm certified teaching artist. I have a member of the Maryland State Arts Council. So I'm on the roster list because schools are looking for those individuals.
Sure.
But as a visual artist, imagine me trying to do a visual Zoom in the classrooms with, say, 100 kids in 4 classes broken up 25, 30 in each class.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it on Zoom with all of these working parts. It just doesn't work. So
Right.
I don't have the opportunities like I did last year to get back into schools. And
Right.
I don't know where it's all headed, but I think it's all going to change. The protocols have initiated a lot of different instruction that the state of Maryland is requiring now. And I'm not sure where it's going to head. Plus, I'm not getting any younger.
Well,
The energy level, the brain is still there, I think, most of it. My wife would disagree, but
yeah.
It's the physical end. It's not, I don't move as fast as I used to.
Mhm. Well,
So when you're dealing with do a week-long residency, you're dealing with 100+ kids. By the end of each day, I'm beat. I am spent. It takes a lot of organization, which I like. I like all the organization.
Yeah. Well, with COVID, I think one of the effects is people, like, I would think home craft would have been a little bit on an upswing, that, people so much time at home wanting to be creative. So if whether or not that endures, we'll see.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, I agree. Home craft has been very beneficial for a lot of people, left to come up with more creative ways,
Mhm.
myself included. But I'm the first to admit I'm somewhat of a Luddite. And it's only 3 of us to figure all this out. It's me, myself, and I.
Yep.
So and there's a tremendous amount of help to try and steer, like with the organization with Young Audiences of Maryland. They're absolutely phenomenal in helping all of us artists. There's about 60 of us, and they're of all genres: music, theater, dance. Now it's digital as well as visual arts.
Mhm.
So they're the top of the cream of the crop as mentors, and they've been absolutely wonderful.
Mhm.
But it doesn't help me on my end trying to figure out anything. It's just been, oh my gosh. And I think I do have more of it to myself than it is actually. But if I have somebody next to me that knows what they're doing, it's like everything else. They can't do it and then expect me to go, oh yeah, I just saw what you did. That's no problem. You did 12 steps in about 30 seconds. No problem. I know how to do that. That ain't gonna happen.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
but I think that's for most people.
Yeah. So John, I had run out to get my stapler, etc. And so, we removed this,
Right.
painted the frame. And then what is the next step?
Flip it over after you painted the frame and it's dried.
Yep.
You paint the entire frame with the exception of the area that you took the screen off of. That side, you don't paint that side of the screen.
Okay.
Paint the other 3 sides.
Got it.
So you won't paint the side you took it off when you flipped it. You'll paint all the way around the outside, all the way around the inside, and then the top.
Got it.
And then you restaple it. And you can see as you took it off, it's a little taut.
Yep.
And you want to try, that's your goal, was to make it close to taut. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not, once it's stapled on there, it's not going to go away. But, and you don't need a lot of staples. You
Right.
could even super glue it if you feel confident, but after it's stapled, you know what I mean?
Okay.
The super glue will come off of the wood.
So the painted part is actually in the recessed area?
Yes.
Got it.
You've got that finished framed product.
Yep. All right.
Are we all still painting?
Yes.
Because I've been rambling. You should tell me to shut up when I need to. The frames, you could do so much with the frame. If you're familiar with any kind of faux finish, that's always a great look.
Mhm.
You could take here's one of the suggestions I would have. Take your foam brush, your 2-inch foam brush, get a pair of scissors and make little teeth out of it. And then get 2 colors of paint and do what's called a strie and go like that.
Mm.
and go all the way around. You could add colors to it. You could just go with one color because you have a base color on there. But there's so many different, you could take a sponge brush and just dapple some paint on it. You could take a rag and dapple some rag paint, colors, 2 or 3 colors on your rag at a time, or put it on the paint and then take a dry rag and take some of it off. You can do, well, I've done marbleizing, I do all that kind of stuff, but just have fun with it. And these are 2x2 frames. They're treated, but you could, I wouldn't go out to the hardware store and buy anything right now, but I'm sure you may have some scraps, or go to, like a dentist's, a store that has everything on the cheap, and find some frames, and then adapt the screen size in your frames. Wood's always the best. Keep an eye out for wood frames.
You can get thrift store, you can get some good frames,
Absolutely.
That's true.
take them apart.
Yep.
Good point.
I've got a friend of mine in Baltimore. Oh, by the way, we're doing an exhibition at the Baltimore Museum of Art the month of June,
Nice.
and screen painters are going to be there doing with the screen painting exhibition, as well as presentations and demonstrations and screen painting class. I'm doing one the first Sunday of June. I think it's the 5th. Presentation and a screen painting class.
Well,
So if you're in the neighborhood, if your helicopter or plane is working,
mhm.
or your chauffeur is not busy.
There you go. June 5th.
But he came across an old house of a lot of frame screens. They were from an old house in Baltimore, a single house back from the 30s. And I didn't know it, and he didn't know it until I started cleaning some of the screen itself. And the screen is actually copper.
Oh my gosh.
And that, that's really cool. So I painted a couple of screens after I cleaned up the frames and the screen, and painted on copper, which is special.
I'll say.
The wood frames are the best because it gives that old timey
Mhm.
kind of look and feel.
A fun place to visit you might have been to is Second Chance,
Yeah,
the stadium. I love
Yeah.
that place.
the
Wow.
place is awesome.
Every time I go over, I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they got everything.
I have a few pieces of original art that, they're not Rembrandt, but I love them.
Yeah,
They're like $40, or something.
can't beat it.
Yep.
It's good stuff.
Mhm. Well, they call it Second Chance for 2 reasons. One is because they're giving stuff a second chance.
Right.
They also hire people who have records, have been incarcerated, so it gives them a second chance,
Yeah.
which is really good.
Yeah, it's a great organization.
Yep.
I have a bunch of paints that I'm going to drop off to them next time I head up.
Mhm.
I'm going to try to remember to bring them this time around.
Right. Well,
You can also hang screens with, if you have access to a sewing machine, you could sew a seam at the top and the bottom of your screen and dowel it with either a wood dowel or PVC, 3/8 inch PVC,
mhm.
and use fishing line because it only weighs like a pound and a half when you do it that way.
John, I gotta leave, sorry. I'll catch up with you again.
All right, I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I had a great time. I always do.
Good. Thank you so much. Are you going to hold up your piece?
I'm not done. I didn't like the color, so I'm painting over a section of it.
Okay. Okay.
I'm being adventurous. I'm going, oh, I don't like that color.
Remember, if you want to reach out at any time, just get in touch with me and I, if you can make do to come over, I'll pass along some stuff that I have for you. Okay.
Okay, that would be great. I'll get a hold of you because I really do like this.
That goes out to everybody.
I'd like to do the smaller ones though, I think. Somebody,
Sure.
one, I didn't do the class, but I saw one class you had that had the smaller ones.
Right.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Patricia.
Oh, I loved it. I love this guy. He's great.
Yes.
Next time in person.
I'm
There
done
we
too.
go. Hopefully.
Bye.
Look at that, Allison. That's so exciting.
I know. That looks great.
Way to
Can you
go.
get a little closer?
Yeah, one sec. Let me, here
Oh,
we go.
cool.
Here we go.
Oh,
You can see
yeah.
it better.
That is so great.
Now you can go to, whatever elements you want to put in the body or around it. You could, use whatever creative design you want, make them small, little half moons, like feathers,
I like that. Yeah.
and
make
some
it-
kind of graphic, make them simple. I wouldn't suggest doing them random, but kind of keep it in the same essence of his design, which is really graphic and simple in nature. Maybe start off with 4 or 5 at the top and then get down to like 2 or 3 that are a little smaller, but
I like
whatever.
Okay,
Have
I
fun
like
with
that.
it.
Yeah, I wanted to put something in the center, so I like that idea.
Yeah, have fun with it.
Okay, thank you. I
Cool.
enjoyed it a lot too.
My pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thanks,
you.
Allison.
Bye.
Bye.
I've been talking too much and running for supplies. So this is, I don't know if you can see. It's my R2D2 at the moment, but I will be filling it in.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, it needs more, but that's okay. I'll do it.
Yeah. And, remember, Fred, it's the first one you've ever done.
Mhm.
I mean,
Last one, right.
have a good time with it. Don't beat yourself up, and you got a lot of area you can add to it.
Well, oh yeah. No, I'm excited about that part because I have a lot of little birds I'm looking at in the backyard. So
Yeah. Cool.
thank you. And Elena, thank you.
Thank you. I'm so
Well,
glad you could be
Bob,
here.
Everything is wonderful. And
Get
yeah,
in touch, Fred.
thanks.
Get
I'd
in
love
touch. Come on over, and I'll give you some screen, and
Okay.
what if you want.
All right. And I'll bring in my Baltimore screen to
Yes.
look at. Would be-
Yes. Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Cool.
I was lucky. So long, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a good one.
Have a good evening.
We'll see you.
Chelsea, do you want to share yours? All right. Whoops.
Can you see it?
Give me a second so we can see it. There we go. Oh, look at that. I love it.
I love it. I love it. Do you like it?
I think it's cute.
Yeah. I think it's a hoot.
I like the blue.
Intended.
So all I have to do is flip the screen around and read it.
Don't forget to flip it over.
Okay.
And if you want, you can paint the frame. I mean, you have the gray or the white frame, but you could paint it multiple colors or just one color. But having a contrast, it'll really make Mr. Al come even more alive for you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you had a good time.
And thanks, Elena, for doing this.
Thank you, Chelsea. Good to see you here.
Bye.
Bye. Elizabeth, I don't know if you can show on your iPhone or not, but you can always send us a photo. Linda, you too, if you want to send in a photo, I'll post it so we can all see the wonderful stuff.
Hey, Elizabeth, how far did you get?
She's on her phone and she had to go somewhere. I'm not
Oh.
sure. I
Okay.
think she's listening. I'm not sure, but I know she's going to be watching this. Speaking of the recording, I'm going to end the recording now.
Okay.
Since we are at the end here, redundancy. But thank you everyone so much for being here, and look for this on our YouTube channel, Worcester County Library.
Thank you. This has been way fun. I'm still